Welcome, everyone. I'm excited today to have Peter Morada, who's a friend and has been a client from his days at AT&T. It's just a delight to have you here, Peter. I'm going to, without further ado, turn it over to you. Please introduce yourself to our audience, and it's just my delight to have you here today.
Great. Hi, Bobby. Good to see you too. Thank you so much for having me. Actually, when I saw you pop up on my LinkedIn feed and saw that you were doing these podcasts, it triggered something in me. It's like, oh my God, I need to reach out to Bobby. And you reached out to me first, honestly, which was like, because I was really fascinated with your topic, leading with respect, right? And you creating this series of podcasts, meeting with all of these leaders across all these different industries, HR leaders, officers, and whatnot. Oh my God, so much interesting information to share. Myself, so my name is Peter Morada. I'm currently at Premier Blue Cross, and I lead a brand group along with the Voice of the Customer group, which is been there for 5 years or so. Just before that, I was at Amazon and led a program management team for about 5 years or so. And then just before that, I was at AT&T for 10 years, and that's where we met, where I probably led the largest group I'd ever led in my career, which was about a 300 person um, design, content, usability team that was really servicing all of the AT&T.com properties. When Ed Whitaker decided to merge all the brands together, the baby brands together, they were looking for a single leader that would bring Southwest Bell, Bell South, Legacy Singular, Legacy AT&T all together. I was literally competing with two other executive managers in determining who would be the best person to basically lead this consolidated group, and they picked me. And they told me the reason why they did pick me. They picked me because of the three leaders that were being looked at, one was highly analytical, a brilliant young woman who could easily have done the job. Another gentleman, she was from Chicago. Another gentleman from Austin, Texas, um, highly versed in design, UX, customer experience. And then there was me, right? And I too came from a UX design background, had my own business. I worked at Microsoft, etc. But they said that one of the reasons why they chose me was because I would have been the one, or I was the one who could probably bring this hugely diverse group of people across multiple organizations together faster, right? Because of whether it was, I think it was part of it was my personality, my openness, my respect for individuals and different people, each allowing like each either leader group from the different areas of the US all having their own unique voices, right? But contributing to this new one AT&T that was forming. That was so much fun. I didn't do it by myself. I can't take full credit for it. I had a couple people helping me with it. There was an organizational development woman that was helping me through all of that because it's very difficult to do that. Plus, I had a team of 15 direct reports that were helping me pull that whole organization together. But like at the heart of everything was always about you know, at the very beginning, it was all about listening, right? It was all about listening and hearing because one of the practices that I had done, and I still do today in my current job, I've just taken it forward ever since early in my career, which is I do these daily stand-ups, right? And I bring all my direct reports together because I feel like everyone needs to have a voice, everyone needs to be heard. Plus, at the same time, I'm always curious to know what different teams are doing. Because I think what I saw across my career was that many leaders don't know what their teams are working on, right? And for me, just as part of who I am, is I always want to have a little bit of my not so much finger in their work. I just want to know what they're doing, right? So I can actually contribute powerfully. At the same time, I want them to know that I am listening and I am paying attention and I am there for them, right? Because that's part of my job as a leader, right? Is I need to be there for them. I need to be there to support them. I need to know what they're doing, right? And not in like an overseer kind of way, in a support role, right? I need to be there as their leader representing them. Um, Currently today, it's quite a bit different, like going through these different cultural environments from AT&T to Amazon, now at Premier Blue Cross. Culturally, each organization so different. And but I really love the Premier Blue Cross organization. They're a great group of people, uh, super humanistic, right? They really care about their people, which is very fascinating to me, and such a difference from where I was just at just before joining them. Not to say that Amazon doesn't care about their people, but they lead differently, right? They lead their organization quite a bit differently.
I really love that you described that decision criteria when you got that big role at AT&T. The way I heard it was, it sounded partly around your diversity. You're a Filipino American man, but the way you defined it were really the qualities. What I heard were you were selected for your values and for the impact you could have in really inviting people in to bring them together, to inspire them for something bigger and bring that cohesion. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how important that is as a value. And yes, you had support, of course, with organizational development folks like me, but it's a leader like that that really leads the way in how to make change happen. So, Peter, let's get to that definition about respect. I'd love to hear from your perspective on what does respect mean to you in the workplace? How do you know? How do you define it?
I have a couple of thoughts on that. The first thing that actually comes to mind, and I mentioned it a little earlier, is people want to know that they're heard, right? That they have a voice, right? And so I think uh, as a leader, it's in our best interest and in the employee's best interest to let them have that voice and to listen, but not just to listen, to prove that you're listening by taking action on what they've said to you, right? Because if you don't do anything about it, they tell you everything, and it's like you don't do anything. It's like, what use is this guy or person, right? It's like they may have let me talk to them, but they were probably multitasking. And I learned that the hard way, honestly. Um, Early in my career, I used to have one-on-ones in my office, and it was terrible. I would have one-on-ones in my office, and my computer would be here. The person would be sitting on the other side of my desk, and I would be looking at my computer, and I wasn't taking notes about the conversation I was having. I was more concerned about like all of the the urgent messages that were coming to me while one of my employees was sitting right there talking to me. And one of them said to me, "Are you even listening to me? Are you paying attention to me?" And it was like, oh crap. I felt so bad. And I had another desk in my office. So I said, "Hey, you know what? Let's do this. We will move from this like other side of the table situation and move to this little table that's in the center of my office, no computers, so I could give you my full attention and we can have a really good dialogue." Right.
I
And
love it.
that
Yeah.
changed everything. That
Oh,
changed everything.
Peter, that's such a great example. I've definitely been guilty of the same thing. So, a couple of things, right? I love that what I heard in the piece around not just listening and that we know people want to be heard, but that accountability connects with this, right? That recognizing that it may be, for instance, with folks like you who've had 15 directs, my gosh, you may choose to say, I'm not going to have one-on-ones with each of you, definitely not every week,
Right,
maybe
right,
every 2 weeks or a month.
right.
So even that's an accountability piece, is just
Yeah,
setting clear expectations and being clear about, and then doing what you say you're going to do. So I love that piece. Yeah.
yeah, for
What else?
sure.
Anything else on how you define respect?
Um, I think I also think that there are like so that I was speaking in terms of how I think sometimes I give respect and how I look for respect in return um is very similar, right? It's like uh I take the time to present a case or present information or present data. My expectation out of respect is they take the time, my leadership or my peers or whatever, they take the time to listen, actively listen, and care about what we're talking about. Because what I hopefully bring to the table, I'm not just bringing any old random things to the table, right? I want them to know that this is important to me, right? And so my expectation is for them to do what I would do for them, which is just the reciprocal listening, taking action. I think the other piece of it is like in today's age, let's just say, and I've been guilty of it. Language is important, right? Language is critically important, and I have a few non-binary employees on my team, and it's taken a while for me to learn pronoun use, I'll be honest, right? And that is another form of respect, obviously, right? Is being able to acknowledge um, how they identify and reinforce that every day and don't um, just neglect it or forget about it or blame some other reason for not being able to do it. It's like you have to work at it. You have to work at it. And so I
Yes.
think how you address people also is critical. I like
So, Peter, thank you for going there. In this environment that we're in right now, with the de-escalation of DE&I, where we had the big adoption curve and now the drop,
Yeah.
I've been very vehement for quite a few years, not just in this environment, that I'm not for D&I the way most companies have done it, because it's
Mhm.
been a check the box.
Mhm.
Where it becomes real is exactly the kind of example you just laid out, is despite the environment, for you to be that leader who supports that freedom for people to choose to identify with the way they do and be sensitive to pronouns if somebody chooses to use them and be seen for it is a classic example of respect where it's, I think, really being broken under the
Yeah.
excuse of the environment is that we're
Mhm.
not going to do that anymore. I
Mhm.
disagree. I
I
think
disagree.
despite the environment, it takes courageous leaders to say,
Mhm.
my number one value is respecting everyone.
Right.
This is just one way to do that.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
completely agree. Yeah. The one thing I was going to mention a moment ago was when I did work at Amazon. So I was fortunate enough to, in the role, it was an executive producer for our U.S. operations, but I was leading the interactions between, and it wasn't easy because we had to find a time where Japan, China, India, the UK, and the US could all get on the phone at the same time because we really felt that there was opportunity for learning and growth for that cross section of executive producers globally to share how they're managing their teams, what sort of challenges they're being faced with. At the same time, at least for me personally, was I saw it as this huge opportunity for me to learn a lot about um, my friends in Japan, which ironically, the guys in Japan that were running it, the guy, one of the bosses in Japan was from Italy, right? And my peer in Japan was Bangladesh, right? Right. So it was a really fascinating experience at Amazon. I would say that I really found ultra valuable for anyone that works at Amazon, no matter what, right? Is being able to cross uh, culturally interact with so many different people.
I love it. I love it. Peter, thank you. And firstly, yeah, thank you for naming specific companies. Just a reminder to our listeners, right? Pros and cons to every culture.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
think it's that clarity of and also that it comes down to like your immediate circular sort of environment, right? Like within any large corporation or even a small one, it's the immediate circle of influence that we work within that you're describing in this example. And I love the awareness you're bringing in about, yes, global, and you're working with people in Japan and all over the world, but even within that, there's difference of context, right? Like if you're
Right.
working with a Bangladeshi person living in Japan, don't make assumptions. So the reminder to all of us is really let's catch ourselves with our assumptions.
Yeah.
It is back to that. How can we seek to understand individuals as individuals without layering these assumptions about culture and differences to
Right.
really take the time to respect someone to get to know them. For instance, with me, yes, I was born in India, but I grew up all over the world, Jamaica, the Philippines, US, etc. And so my context is always very different. So I want to just bring in this term context.
Hmm.
Erin Meyer is known for the book The Culture Map. She's an American professor at INSEAD, the Swiss management school, and has been critical in the design of Netflix's culture in consulting with them on that. But the one term, she has 8 dimensions on cultural differences. The one that really strikes me as very critical always is context.
Hmm.
We have high context and low context cultures.
Hmm.
Briefly for everybody, right? Low context is like a meeting. You're going to send the agenda in advance. You're going to start the meeting with the agenda. You're going to do the agenda. You're going to close with accountability and next steps. And the example in her book is from that. And she says this happened at Samsung in the US. And after that meeting, when the person sent that follow up email with accountabilities and next steps, a
Yeah.
Korean leader in the US walks over to the person who sent the email and says, why do you need to send that email? Don't you trust me? Don't you respect that if I've said my word that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it?
Right.
So that's an example of low context cultures like the US versus high context with Koreans, as
Hmm.
an example, where that relationship, that level of respect and understanding and unspoken trust
Hmm.
has been built.
Hmm.
And what I tell people all the time is I think to even the playing field globally, we want to get to being explicit. So
Hmm.
more in that low context world. Don't make assumptions.
Hmm.
Check your assumptions and make it explicit.
Yeah. Well, context. Yeah. Uh, the first things that I thought of, honestly, with that example of the manager that sent out the notes and the Korean manager who responded, um, in the "Don't you trust me" piece. I mean, my knee-jerk reaction was around, um, trust, right, and actually familiarity and relationship development, right. Those were my immediate reactions because honestly. in relationship to how I interact, to provide context, I suppose, is that I typically try at the very beginning to learn as much as I can about the people that I'm working with, right? I may even sometimes become friends with them, right? It's not always it doesn't always have to be that way, but just because of the fact that I don't know, my style of communication or whatever it is, um, I'm relatively friendly and open. Building that rapport to me is critical, right? Because um, I want to avoid situations that you just described where the gentleman said, "Don't you trust me?" It's like, well, of course I trust you, right? I'm sending those notes out for everyone, not just you, right? It's like because not everyone operates at the same level as you do, right? So I think I still need to get a better handle on that low context versus high context concept that you just laid out. But I mean, context is definitely as a matter of fact, I was speaking to Context just yesterday about a different set of issues related to some project work, right? It's like you don't really, um, how you react to how someone's presenting something back to the group. You just have to kind of understand what their frame of reference is or what their context is
Yeah.
when it comes to like what they're sharing with the team or whatever, right? So anyway, I'm still again wrapping my head around that one a little bit, Bobby. So yeah,
Yeah, I'll help with that. So I think really the gist of it is checking assumptions,
yeah,
right? That often we sit in this space of, well, we know each other and we've done that and it's been covered already, so we don't need to go there.
yeah.
And the encouragement is make the implied explicit.
Explicit rather than
Explicit.
always assume, right?
That's how I interpret her work. Give us a sense of when you feel you've experienced lack of respect and how do you navigate that? What do you do?
Um, yeah, I think the most common situation is so, well, and this was relatively recent. So within a group, some leaders asked me, Peter, can you put together some thoughts around how we want to approach this? I'm just going to be very broad. This strategy, right? It's like, okay, great. I'm very familiar with the topic, so I laid out like um like some guiding principles. I did this little Venn diagram of like how I saw things operating, this group, that group, where we intersect, and then some relatively direct sort of um comments around how I think it should be structured, this strategy and this approach, right? When I reviewed it with my team, um I think one of the things that I felt where I didn't get the right level of respect, because that's what the question was about, right? Is like I've done a lot in my career, right? And I've led big teams and like we've done world-class work. We've done award-winning work. Forrester Research actually noted the work that we did at AT&T in the design persona and customer experience journey work as world-class and best in class, right? And so this was like it was all related, right? And I was presenting this strategic direction to a group of people that weren't as maybe fluent in the language of the topic. And I felt that they said I was too prescriptive, right? And I also said, and I said in response, I said, this is just a draft, right? I'm not saying this is it, this is the end. This is to start the conversation, right? For us to kind of work together to distill down what we want to present as a group, right? But you asked me as a starter, right? Hey, how do we get started, right? And so in a way, I felt a little disrespected in that regard because it's like you asked me to do this one thing. I do the work based off of my experience and my background. And then I say it's draft and it's open to like iteration, yet you tell me I'm being too prescriptive. It's like that's a strange phrase to me, right? It's like too prescriptive. Wait a sec. This is all draft, man. I'm not saying this is final at all. This is a starter for dialogue and discussion. So anyway, I just thought it was odd, to me. And maybe it was because and I'll blame myself a little bit, maybe because I come strong sometimes, right? In my opinions around how to do things. But I also lead with um, what I said earlier, which was this is draft, this is iterative, this is something I want to collaborate with you on to develop as we finalize the work, right? So it's not meant to be prescriptive. It's meant to be just this, it's thought provoking, right? It's like we hit a rough spot because you feel it's too hard. It's like, well, let's talk through that. It's like,
Yeah.
why is that? Why is it that way? I mean, it's a trigger, right? It's like it's meant to like stir it up a little bit so we can have a good dialogue to resolve or get to an end result. Anyway, it's just interesting to me how that happens, right? It's like,
I,
and
I love it. No, I love it. It's a great example, Peter, of how, what I'm hearing in it is there's an impact on you. And so there's that internal piece around this is what's going on for me. And, my suggestion to people listening would be, turn it over to them to say, because it's really about them, like
yeah,
what's going on with them and do a course correct, right? The classic sort of change management. Like if you see resistance, what do you do to, first step you do is name it, right? If we don't name the resistance, we can't solve for it. Because
yeah,
I don't think it's about the draft. I think there's something else underneath it
yeah.
that they're not speaking to.
I discovered what that was, honestly. The what it was they didn't have a lot of time, right? Because they were about to go on vacation. It's like, oh, you're going on vacation. That's why it's now this, it's
Makes
like,
sense. Yeah,
right.
that's perfect. That's perfect. All right, Peter, let's take it home. Let's get your top tips, my friend. Usually 1 to 3, but it's up to you on how do you create cultures of respect. And I love that you've been at a range of different companies, large corporations, global
Yeah,
companies.
yeah.
So give us, yeah, for our audience that's
Sure.
global,
And
top three.
yeah, and I spoke to those earlier, right? I think one is actively listen, right? With intent, right? Undistracted. Right? That's one. I think two is take action on what you hear, right? Don't just let it sit there. You really need to take action on what you hear from your people, right? And I think three would be you have to treat everyone equally, honestly. I mean, you have a lot of people in the room, they're super smart people, highly educated, and across the board, whether they're serving you coffee or the CEO, right? I think you need to treat people fairly across the board, no matter what level they're operating at. You need to treat them like human beings, right? That's what I try to do. I treat the janitors, the people who serve me coffee, my CEO, my manager, my VP. I treat them all the same, right? I don't like.
I love it. I love it. I want to just drill in on the second one, Peter, just a moment, because I think that's such an important one that gets overlooked.
Mhm.
Is respect falls in that category of value that you kind of, is difficult to measure or like really get your hands around. And I'm really committed to how we can measure it at the leadership level, at a company culture level. And so it's that, doing what you say you'll do, which I think we all intend to do. That second tip you've given is so critical to making that happen. And
Yeah,
so to me, respect is really an active verb. It's
absolutely.
respecting the humanity in people,
Yeah.
right? Than just a passive word. Thank you so much.
If you document it all, right? Which ideally you're documenting all of these things, right? You're listening, you're hearing all these things, you document them, and you'll have a list, right? And it's like, I've got 20 things, right? Did you execute against 20 things or just five things, right? And that's a measure, right? Honestly, it's like you either took action on all 20 or you took action on one, right? Um,
I love that. And at the stage of the 20s, do you have a criterion how you're going to prioritize those 20 to get to 3 or 5, right? Is also a key piece of
yeah,
having a dialogue with a team and keep
yeah,
people involved.
yeah. Yeah, prioritization can be difficult, right? I mean, yes, I think that I don't know if you want an answer to that, but I mean, I'm just thinking of scenarios of like where that's come up many times, right? It's sometimes it's HR related priorities that are potentially endangering individuals, loss of staff, for instance, people threatening to leave because of this or that or whatever's going on. And some things are a little easier, right? Some things are a little easier. If you see, let's say, code of conduct violations or whatever that could lead to those sorts of situations, you need to let the people know. They may not even be aware that they're actually um, violating something, right? Because they're just not cognizant of whatever the rules are. And some of it might be common sense, but they just don't see it, right? So there's just so much to look at when it comes to prioritization.
I love it. Well, Peter, thank you so much. It's been a delight to have you. Can't wait to put this out there and share
Yeah,
your.
Bobby, I love doing it too. I'd love to grab coffee with you someday in
I'd
person.
love that. Yeah, yeah.
You're
I'll
in,
be in
you're in
Seattle
Seattle, right?
soon. I'm coming up soon. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Let's say bye for now. But